Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Fans, and welcome back. We're diving into all the minor rumors and updates surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays today, and honestly, it's that weird time of year where not much is happening because of the holidays, but there are still a few interesting things worth talking about. This is Blue Jays Nation News, where we break down every development that matters for Toronto's roster. And today we're covering a recent trade, some intriguing free agent connections, and what the timeline looks like as we approach spring training. Hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe if you're new here, and turn on notifications, because even though things are slow right now, decisions are coming soon that will shape Toronto's entire 2025 season. Let's start with the trade that went down yesterday. The Guardians acquired Justin Burrell after the Blue Jays designated him for assignment, and Toronto gets cash considerations in return. Not exactly a blockbuster, but it accomplishes what the front office needed. They cleared a 40-man roster spot for Cody Ponce, moved a pitcher who wasn't going to factor into 2025 plans, and got a little financial return in the process. Pretty standard organizational housekeeping this time of year. What's interesting is what Cleveland did on their end to make room for Burrell. They designated Yaneski Noel for assignment, which means Big Christmas is now on the market. And honestly, that's kind of wild because Noel has legitimate power. His bat carries serious untapped potential, and he could be a really intriguing change of scenery candidate for some team looking for a power bat who just needs the right opportunity. He's got a big piece of lumber, and if he lands somewhere that can unlock that potential, he could become a really useful player. But for Toronto, this move was just about roster management, clearing space, and getting a little cash back. Now let's talk about the bigger stuff. Jim Bowden came out recently and named 3 major free agents the Blue Jays are involved with. First, obviously, is Bichette. As other options dry up around the league, Blue Jays fans are getting more anxious for the front office to just bring Bo back already. But a lot of things need to fall into place for that to happen, including Bo's own decision about where he wants to play and for how much money. The interest is clearly there from Toronto's side, but interest doesn't mean a done deal, and that's what makes this situation so tense right now. Second, Bowden says the Blue Jays are still heavily in on Kyle Tucker. That's good to hear from someone like Bowden, who's been covering baseball for decades and has solid sources. It confirms that Toronto isn't backing off their pursuit, despite the waiting game Tucker is playing. If they can land Tucker, it's a franchise-altering addition that immediately upgrades the lineup and signals to the rest of the league that Toronto is serious about competing at the highest level. The third name is more surprising. Alex Bregman. Bowden says the Blue Jays are monitoring his situation, and honestly, that's a complicated one. Bregman just had an excellent year, and he's a proven winner with championship experience from his time with the Astros. But there's baggage there, too, specifically the sign-stealing scandal stuff that still rubs a lot of people the wrong way. George Springer came from that same situation and has been fantastic in Toronto, so maybe you put aside the past if it means winning a championship. But here's the concern. Bregman is going to command big money, and there's real risk you overpay for someone who's on the wrong side of their prime and doesn't deliver for multiple years. Compare that to Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker, who are both younger and entering or in their prime years. You feel way more confident committing long-term money to those guys because the likelihood they produce at a high level for the duration of the contract is much higher. Bregman feels like the kind of signing that could look great for 2 years and then become an albatross for the remaining 4 or 5. That's the risk, and it's a legitimate concern when you're talking about the kind of money he's going to demand. Before we keep going, hit that like button if you think Toronto should stay focused on Tucker and Bo, or comment if you'd be okay with Bregman as a backup plan. Another name Bowden mentioned is Chris Bassitt, potentially returning to Toronto. That one caught me off guard a bit because when you look at the Blue Jays rotation, there really isn't room for Bassitt unless you're talking strictly about depth. He's a 36-year-old right-hander at this stage of his career, and while he had a strong start to 2024 before fading down the stretch, it's hard to see where he fits in the current rotation picture. Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, Yusei Kikuchi, Bowden Francis, and whoever else Toronto adds already fill out the starting five pretty comfortably. But here's where it gets interesting. Could Bassitt transition to a bullpen role? He played a really important part at the end of the season, and his pitch repertoire would actually play extremely well out of the bullpen. We saw glimpses of that in the World Series, and there's something to be said for his comfort level in this clubhouse. The team chemistry is strong. Most of the roster is returning, and maybe Bassitt would be willing to take a one-year deal to stay with Toronto and chase a championship in a different role. Is he entering the John Smoltz phase of his career, where he becomes a closer or high-leverage reliever? That's not impossible to imagine, and if the price is right, maybe it makes sense. There's also the ongoing rumors about Jose Berrios being on the trading block. Pitching is always at a premium, and if Toronto can find the right deal that clears payroll space and brings back useful pieces, maybe they move Berrios and use that flexibility to address other needs. That could open a rotation spot where Bassitt fits back in as a depth starter who can give you innings when needed. It's all connected, and these decisions don't happen in isolation. The front office is juggling multiple scenarios, and how they prioritize will determine how the roster looks come opening day. Speaking of timelines, we're now inside the 100-day window until Major League Baseball opening day. Pitchers and catchers report in just 54 days, which means spring training is right around the corner. That sounds far away until you realize that 54 days from now, we'll have a much clearer picture of what this roster actually looks like. Major decisions need to happen before then, and the clock is ticking whether fans feel it or not. We also have an important deadline coming up on December 22nd for Japanese stars posted to major league teams. Kazuma Okamoto's posting window closes that day, which is only a few days from now. That means something big could happen this weekend, and the Blue Jays should absolutely be involved in those conversations. There are legitimately talented players available from Japan right now, and Toronto has shown willingness in the past to pursue international talent when the fit makes sense. Roki Sasaki, Tatsuya Mai, and others are all in that same posting window, and any of them could significantly upgrade a roster if they sign with the right organization. The next few days could be busier than people expect, especially with that December 22nd deadline looming. Teams that have been quietly negotiating might suddenly finalize deals, and the landscape could shift dramatically over the weekend. Toronto needs to stay aggressive, keep exploring options, and make sure they're not sitting idle while other teams are making moves that strengthen their rosters. So here's the situation. The Blue Jays have cleared roster space with the Burrell trade. They're still heavily involved with Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. They're monitoring Alex Bregman as a potential option. Chris Bassitt might return in some capacity, and Japanese free agents are about to start making decisions in the next few days. That's a lot of moving pieces, and how it all shakes out will define Toronto's competitive window for the next several years. What do you think, Blue Jays Nation? Should Toronto prioritize bringing back Bo and landing Tucker, or would you be okay with pivoting to someone like Bregman if those deals don't materialize? And what about Chris Bassitt? Would you bring him back as a depth starter or bullpen piece? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you want more Blue Jays coverage. Subscribe so you catch every update as spring training approaches. And turn on notifications because the next few weeks are critical, and we'll be here breaking it all down as it happens.